explore the final way of adding Kendo UI HTML wrappers to your app, to your solution. So I'm going to assume that you already have an ASP.NET MVC4 default application. I'm again going to call it existing MVC application 2. An internet application is what we're going to create with a Razor engine, and our solution is ready. We are going to quickly run this now, and here you will see the application is absolutely ready with its default MVC4 template. However, at this time it is not enabled to use Kendo UI wrappers for MVC. Let's see how we can do this as well. We're back in our solution, and adding Kendo UI for MVC wrappers is a 3-step process here as well, and it's pretty simple. 1. Add appropriate reference. 2. Copy appropriate files. 3. Add a namespace in web.config. Let's quickly add the reference. So the reference that you're looking to add is going to be Kendo MVC.dll. So I'm going to quickly add this and say OK. You can actually see this in my folder structure as well. Here we have program files x86, and under that it's Telerik, and under Telerik you will see Kendo UI for MVC Q2 2012 SP1. You can go into wrappers, MVC4, and get into binaries. So while this says MVC3, the name of the folder is MVC3, this DLL, which is kendo.mvc.dll, is valid both for MVC3 projects as well as MVC4 projects. So we've added the reference, and as you can see, it can be seen in the referenced section here. Step 2 is to add the right files in the solution. Adding the right files means adding the appropriate JavaScript and CSS files. We'll be adding the JavaScript under scripts, and we'll be adding the CSS files under content. So going back to the folder structure, I can get into JS, and the 3 files that I'm going to copy through is going to be jQuery, Kendo all, and Kendo.ASP.net MVC. So I'm going to copy all the 3 files directly into my solution under the scripts folder. The second set of files that I need to copy are going to be the CSS files. They can be found under styles, and the 2 files that I'm going to be copying, number 1 is going to be kendo.common, and the theme that I'm going to use is the default theme. So I'm going to use these 2 CSS files, and I'm going to copy them under content. Now that I've copied the JavaScript and CSS, there is one quick edit that we have to make because of the way MVC4 application is structured by default. Under shared, we go into layout and comment out the jQuery, which is located at the bottom. The reason is we are going to be adding another jQuery reference in the layout.cs HTML file. Now that we've removed the reference, we are going to add the right references into our solution. I'm going to quickly copy paste the references. As you will see, these include the CSS files, the Kendo common, Kendo default, and the 3 files that we copied over, jQuery min, Kendo all, and Kendo ASP.NET MVC. There is a quick edit that I would make. I don't think I was able to copy it correctly. Alright, so this should set us up for Kendo UI wrappers. After having added the CSS and JavaScript references, the final step to get Kendo UI to work would be to go into web.config and introduce the namespace. So you can go to the root web.config, and under the namespaces section you can add another namespace, and we would call this namespace kendo.mvc.ui. Now this reference has to be added at two locations. One is at the root of the solution that we have. The second web.config is at the root of the views folder. So this is another web.config, and you will notice it has another section that we can add the namespace at. And now we are set to add the Kendo date picker. Let's clean this index.cshtml5 and get rid of all the content. In here what we will do is add the Kendo date picker. As you can see, I'm having some issues getting the IntelliSense. Okay, I think we're all set, and let's run the application now. Okay, so this looks good, except that we don't have the little icon here. Everything is functional, the only issue being the icon is missing. So let's go back and see where we could have erred. You will notice that in the content area, while we've added the CSS, this image or little icon probably came from a sprite. So let's locate the sprite. You will notice that under the Kendo UI styles there is a default folder, and in the default folder there are a lot of sprites. So since I'm using the default CSS for Kendo, I'm just going to copy the default folder as is to the content folder. Now this should set me up for showing the icon. Let's see if our effort is successful. And yes, the icon has come through, and now we have a fully functional date picker as well. So that sums up how to install and get started with Kendo UI MVC wrappers in Visual Studio. You can see the blog post, a similar blog post that has been made by the Kendo UI team on their blog, and it details quite a bit of steps to get started quickly. Now there is also another blog post by the Kendo UI team on other HTML helpers that are there, and you can look at what all are the various HTML helpers available and how to get started with them. Finally, if you wanted to take a closer look at what all is available as APIs and the other widgets which can be used in the MVC wrapper section, you can actually refer to docs.kendoui.com. You can go to the using Kendo with section, and under that MVC you will actually see a detailed documentation of what is available as helpers, and you can see we have the date picker, and similarly other widgets are also very well documented. So this was a very quick preview of what exists in Kendo UI for ASP.NET. There are plenty more widgets that you can explore and add to your solution.